Welcome to this episode of What's in the Works, sponsored by NELA Roofing. I'm State Representative Michael Echols, and today we'll be talking about all things happening in Northeast Louisiana, the good, the better, and the best. Look forward to talking to you in this episode.
Welcome to What's in the Works podcast. We have the privilege of sitting down with Mr. Mike Echols today. The concept of this is we wanted to meet community leaders who are driving growth, who create opportunities for us to be able to run our businesses to feed our families, who are driving, big changes in our local community and kind of create opportunities for all sorts of people. So we want to thank you for coming out. We appreciate you coming.
Honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Some of the stuff we wanted to talk to you about is we obviously work in the community. We do a lot of commercial work, residential work, and we hear a lot of questions from people. And there's a lot of buzz about what's happening downtown. And we had Mayor Friday Ellis on last week talking all about Hotel Monroe and about how amazing it is. What was that experience like? Kind of, what was your concept when you grabbed that building and said, like, I'm going to do something with this?
So you got to kind of go back almost 15, 20 years to really see what we've been working on with the Hotel Monroe. Back in like 2008, we started buying buildings in downtown Monroe, buying them on a handshake. These are little 2,000 square foot buildings that were vacant, blighted, some wide open, trees growing through them, and we saw potential in downtown just because I'd seen other cities across the nation that have had these resurgences in their downtowns. And Monroe was just sitting there ripe for the happening. And so on a handshake, I came in and bought 3 buildings. What was an old furniture store on a Saturday morning, just walking around in my shorts and a T-shirt. Again, on a handshake deal, bought buildings, called the banker.
That's awesome.
After it happened and said, look, awesome. I've literally just agreed to buy these 3 buildings. I need some money. He said, okay, come see me Monday. And we literally closed the deal a few days later.
Wow.
So it was just buying on a whim back in 2007, 2008. And then after that, it's been slowly but surely getting to know people in that downtown market. And there were families that had these old buildings that they hadn't had anything in for decades, and just working with them to acquire those assets and put them back into play.
My biggest financial mistake of my life was being in middle school during the real estate bubble of 2008. If only I would have been able to invest in real estate in 2008 crisis, That'd have been awesome. Yeah, in fact, I saw a quote that you said at one point where you said, if you have a healthy downtown, it's normally a sign that you have a healthy community.
Yeah.
So
I look at the downtowns as the heart and soul of the community, and if you've got a vibrant downtown, it normally means everything else is going pretty well. I think that towns that play a specific amount of focus towards their downtown communities end up reaping benefits overall from the entire city. So downtown West Monroe has been doing a great job on revitalization. Of course, downtown Monroe now, and it's been over 15 years in the making. The Hotel Monroe is just one piece of a broader puzzle. When we first started, we know that people wanted to eat, to drink, and then then after you get those components in place, then you need a place for people to sleep. Sure. So apartments, housing, and then longer term, then you want people to visit, which is the hotel. So when we started, it was retail shops and restaurants and bars, and then now as we move forward, we've got a couple hundred apartments downtown that we own and operate, and the hotel's the next logical step. I think as we grow forward, we're going to look at more hotels and more housing, and then that will push in a big way, I think, more of the retail and restaurant business downtown.
Mm-hmm. So the 3, you said you bought 3 buildings back in 2008. Was that the Crest and the Miller Roy building as well?
No. This is 424, 426, and 428 Desert Street.
Okay.
And I'm sorry.
No, please.
Okay. That was just my wife, so it's cool.
No, it's all good. So the 3 buildings.
Yeah, the 3 buildings, 424, 426, 428 Desert Street. They were full of junk. It was Clarence's old stuff, so it was a place that he had accumulated all these old fix-it things, tables, chairs, different pieces of stone, just whatever. And so over the next 6 months, I ended up emptying those buildings out by having an estate sale every weekend and just saying, make a pile, make an offer. And I don't think I turned anybody down, no matter what they offered. They just got to buy the stuff out of it. So it was a good way to clean out the buildings. And then I just started restoring a building first. Didn't have a tenant. once I finally got the building restored, somebody came along and said, we'd like to rent it. And oh, by the way, we need one more building for another business we've got. And I said, well, I happen to own the building next door. Can I build it out for you? And built it out. Since then, Congressman Abraham had an office down there in one of the buildings. We've had, a variety of restaurants and bar businesses, which, those are volatile businesses. Some have, lasted 5 years. Some have lasted 7 years. Some have lasted longer than that. And some continue to grow and new businesses come. But really the funnest part of this is seeing entrepreneurs come in and take this space, and then take that space, which is already special, and making it more special with their product or service or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So do you feel like maybe you kind of kicked off that initiative with like starting earlier? Was there others doing that around you as well, like people that you've kind of networked with and worked alongside to develop it?
Well, so the effort started in 1974, and there were a lot of start and stops. And I think one of the reasons why it was hard for downtown Monroe to ever get back on the right track is you had one person or family that owned one building, and there were a lot of people that owned a lot of different buildings. Somebody was always waiting for somebody else to start. And so until you are able to accumulate several buildings, it's hard to start. You really need a block. You get one block and you can start to make tweaks. Then you start to see, real change, systemic change. Fortunately, we've been able to secure almost a block at a time to fix a lot of that. Now, if you go back to folks that were on the ground floor of doing restoration in downtown Monroe, Melody Olson with Old Penn Hotel, redoing apartments and other spaces down there was great. Investor early in downtown Monroe. Her vision with the River Market and what happened there was really, really good. You go back to Jay Howell doing, cotton and Coda and all the different businesses he's done down there, really at the forefront of the development effort. So those are two folks that were starters in that. Of course, Vantage being down there made a significant economic development with the buildings that they restored and the businesses they put there. So all those things wrapped in were catalysts, I think, to get us to where we are today.
And with you now being in government, do you have, I guess, beyond your own private investments and, private efforts, economic development for the area? What is the balance like for, the historic revitalization plus, modern development, things like that?
Well, so if you look at the entire region, and that's when I'm going down to Baton Rouge to try to get capital outlay or other investment in this region, my number one project for the last 5 years has been Kansas Lane. To me, that economic development area between, Kansas Lane, the mall, that I-20 development district all the way back into North Monroe is one major corridor because it links north and south with the 165 corridor. That has been a priority. I think there's even more significant opportunity in South Monroe as I look at connecting 165 into West Monroe, doing another bridge south of where we have all of our current bridge systems. I think there's an extremely large potential there and an ability to stop flooding in South Monroe and protect those residents too. So I don't just look at it as downtown. Downtown's where my personal investments are in downtown Monroe and downtown Ruston. But as a politician, I look at it as a super regional activity that we need Ruston, we need Bastrop, we need Columbia, we need all these other cities to be successful. Now, my role as an elected official of Ouachita Parish is to make sure Ouachita Parish excels. And so I've done everything I can to bring back, and I can tell you we brought back more capital outlay in the last 5 years than we probably have in the last 50. But that's because we're working as a team. We've helped get many, many people elected here locally that I think have been beneficial to changing the narrative in that collaboration where they used to just fight, which as an outsider, I'm from Bastrop, as an outsider watching that, it was just dumb that these people kept fighting over crumbs when they could have had the whole ribeye if they just worked together. And so I think we're doing that better now than we ever have before.
As y'all continue to try to push development and push progress, like what are some of the biggest challenges you feel we face in this region as we continue to try to grow with all the other things happening around us?
The mayor talks about how people look at themselves and criticize themselves. They're very self-critical. I call it a culture of poverty. It's overcoming the culture of poverty first to realize we all can succeed, we all can work together, and we all can grow together. And again, all ships rise as we do this together. So that's one thing, that's really an intangible that we all have to realize we can be successful together. But two, we have to have the right infrastructure in place, which we're working on that, and we're getting that every day. And three, I think, once you repair the heart, which is our downtowns, downtown Monroe, downtown West Monroe, even our regional downtowns in Columbia and, again, all the other smaller towns, then I think you start to see the region excel. Now, we did have a little bit of accelerator juice that was thrown on the pie here lately with the meta development. And that is driving traffic not just in Monroe or Richland Parish, but regionally. When you have 3,700 people today on that site that are needing places to eat, to drink, to stay, and then social amenities, those are accelerants to everything else. And I think that fuel on the fire will help us fuel the infrastructure build out we need, which will again attract other businesses and then grow manufacturing and then grow other service lines, and to make this region really an anchor for the state.
Yeah, I'll say it is really incredible to watch because these things are no coincidence. Like the Meta coming here, all of the growth, it is because people were elected, like you and like Mayor Ellis, like people were elected with this abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. And it's the concept of like people actually driving, like people less worried about self-interest and more worried about, like you said, like regional gain and regional interest. And it's incredible. And it's really one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on here. Like it is really awesome to watch, people really dig in and like do what's necessary to fight this stuff.
Well, look, I look at it as a win. You get a win in Richland Parish, that's a win for Ouachita Parish.
Sure.
If it's a win in Union Parish, it's a win for Washington. And they're all, again, once all these different municipalities start to win and everybody gets their whatever it is, projects, we all win because there is a ripple effect back and forth across this corridor. We have a very, very powerful incubator between that I-20 corridor and one, not being in a hurricane zone, but two, having, all the university systems, and then now what I'm calling more of an innovation corridor with the technology and with Meta now. Again, it's going to be supercharging for our region. And you hear a lot of people being critical of these investments. I think that, Meta is building a large brain. And the one thing that companies that are doing research development, which is a really big accelerant, they have to plug into that brain. They need to be within 30 miles of that brain to plug in.
Right.
Once the R&D companies do what they do, then they start to grow other lines of business. That's where I see the really rapid opportunity over the next 25 years is it's not just the brain that's being built. It's what happens around that brain the 10 or 15 years after that. That, to me, is the real fuel that nobody's talking about yet. And everybody's worried about all these short-term challenges, power, water, and so forth. I met with the executive team and the builders out there, and they've got massive ponds that they've built to accumulate water and runoff that they can use to cool their systems. They're building 4.5 megawatts of power, which is enough to fuel 3 AI centers that's out there, and that's all self-contained natural gas plants. So I realize their concerns, but these guys are trying to be environmentally friendly, produce their own power, source their own water without implicating and only growing resources for the region. So I get it's scary and it's hard, but I think it's going to be a good investment that will grow future for future generations.
Yeah, I trust people who are smart enough to create these type of like businesses and infrastructures have also had the foresight to like factor in these type of challenges. Yeah, but I do. We talked about that, Mayor Ellis, last week, is the short-sightedness and how me as a citizen alone can be guilty of kind of sleepwalking through and then waking up and saying, what the hell are all these politics? Like, what is everybody doing out here? You know what I mean? Like, and just immediately looking for, or like you said, a poverty mindset, a scarcity mindset. It immediately becomes, what's going to happen to me now versus like this incredible opportunity that we have. There's a tangible buzz around the community. And for contractors like us, I've watched Monroe specifically. I've lived all over the state. Here, it seems like it is so local business friendly, where I have friends who have gone out on their own and started their own interior remodeling companies or plumbing companies, or we have a roofing company. There's a bunch of them. You know what I mean? It's like there is so much opportunity for trades growth and people in construction trades in general being able to sustain their family, build a small business, employ other people, allow them to feed their families. This region specific is very friendly to that.
I would agree.
Is there any current talk about, I guess, capacity for like healthcare improvement? So, like for capacity growth, not improvement per se, but, with population coming,
Yeah, so there's a big opportunity, and I sit on the Health and Welfare Committee and have worked on growing doctors. Really, if you want to have capacity, you've got to have physicians. We're 1,239 primary care doctors short in the state over the next 5 years. So we know we have to fix that. I set up with some others a rural tuition physician reimbursement fund with We seeded it with $10 million a few years ago, and it's just basically saying if you're a primary care doctor and we can keep you in our rural healthcare delivery system here, we'll pay off your college loans. Again, a tool. Now, we need other tools because it's not just primary care, it's specialty care and again, a few other lines of business we need. So we have to fix that. Now, we've had, one of the problems in the region has been Glenwood, and, the company that has owned that property has created just a terrible situation. They're a criminal organization as far as I'm concerned, based on the way and what they've done to basically suck all the resources out of Glenwood. And hopefully we're working on fixing that. I tried to run a bill last year to fix it, to hold them accountable. I'll continue to do that. I'm working with the Attorney General.
Yeah, I saw that. That was cool.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
I'll
mean,
do some research on that.
it's just a problem, but we'll eventually solve it. We've got good people on the ground that work at Glenwood, good nurses, good doctors. We just got to give them the tools that they need to take good care of a patient.
Well, so they just got bought. So you're referring to is that true? They
Well,
just
no,
got.
so Medical Properties Trust acquired Glenwood and the physical assets from
Gotcha.
IASIS several years ago. Now they have different operators that basically lease the hospital from Medical Properties Trust, but Medical Properties Trust just takes one organization like Steward, and it bankrupted.
Okay.
And they've got another organization. They've even moved over some of the same executives from Steward to run that organization. So it's just a big Ponzi scheme that has to be fixed. And
It must be the property management company that changed.
Well, no, it's a
the
unique
operator.
set. Yeah, it's
the
a
actual operating
Yeah,
inside
it's just like
of the
somebody
building.
leasing a building.
Correct.
You got the people that own the building, which are the head of the snake, and then you have the actual people that run the thing, which they're just taking these people that they had before and shuffling them to a new organization after they bankrupt the organization. But again, it's a terrible situation. I get calls from nurses, doctors, and other people that say, look, we don't even have the basic supplies we need, and it's heartbreaking to me to hear this again and again and again. But we're going to fix it. We're going to hold them accountable. It's the last thing I do as a legislature. We are going to hold those corrupt people accountable.
That's actually very cool. I didn't know that. I guess it makes sense. That's a very important space to be able to influence, but that you're able to, because that's private owned business at some level, and that's very interesting. So.
Yeah, they're heavily unregulated, and I saw, and it was super interesting to watch that your idea of holding accountable, because it's really something that.
Well,
You
had
don't hear about
their previous interim president not said on the record in one of my committees that we killed or maimed patients on our watch because we didn't have the financial resources available to take care of our patients. To me, that's a crime. He said it on the record. I didn't make that up. And so we're going to hold him accountable and fix that situation no matter how long it takes.
Yeah.
Very cool. No, really, that's very cool.
Yeah, that's super honorable.
Well, with I guess all the development in the area, including healthcare, I guess what can people kind of expect in terms of workforce growth here? Like, is there going to be more jobs coming, or are we going to see a shortage of jobs? Once say meta development construction workers end up staying here, their phase of the project ends. Where do they go? They put their kids in school here. They become seated. What do they do? Is there enough jobs available?
So if you're looking at jobs, we have job creators that are here that don't just work in Northeast Louisiana. They work all over the world. If you're an electrician or want to be an electrician, this is the best opportunity in your life to make a bunch of money for a long period of time. I think of my friends at Copeland Electric is one of the groups in town. They work for data centers not only in this region but all over the nation. There is going to be a demand of 30, 40, 50,000, maybe more electricians over the nation over the next 10 years. Okay. So if you can get trained up in that or any particular trade, right now, if you can work with your hands and help with anything mechanical, electrical, get that schooling, I guess whether it's Delta or some certificate program or even working as an intern through these groups, I think you have a tremendous opportunity, not only locally but nationally, to be able to travel, come back home, or work regionally as these AI centers continue to grow and proliferate. There are other industries that I think are burgeoning industries. LNG, of course, in the state of Louisiana. Oil and gas is going to become more attractive as we've tried to simplify our severance taxes here in the state so we become competitive with Texas. But LNG, too. I mean, you've got plants that are doing crazy, unique manufacturing, like in Sterlington with the former Dow facility there, Angus. You've got graphic packaging. They've added other wings and they've modernized equipment doing that with their facility out past the mall. So you've got all these companies, plastics manufacturing in the region. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity for job growth there, and I don't think it's going to take a huge amount of training to do some of the things you do, whether it's through Delta and certificate programs or going on to a 4-year institution. I think just get the training. The jobs are there. There's going to be shortages, and I mean,
which would incentivize apprenticeship programs,
absolutely.
Things like that. Yeah.
And all these groups have apprenticeships. It's just being willing or interested in that particular field.
Sure.
like you said, and kids coming out now, it's the perfect opportunity to go to a vocational school essentially and set yourself up, and you'll see a boom in that type of local stuff.
Well, I feel like for so long too in our area, it's felt like when you have kids, for a lot of people, it's felt like, okay, well, for my kids to really make it in life, we're going to educate them here and then send them off to Dallas or somewhere else, to do something in life. But it feels like for the first time in a long time, maybe, like there is hope of like, man, my kids can really stay here. They can work in a trade. They can be an electrical engineer. They can go into computer science, any of these kinds of things. And we have those types of industries developing in this area to where they can make a very good living for themselves and their families here in the Monroe area.
Well, and if you think about it, it's even bigger than that. If you want to go to work for somebody, great opportunities. But I've always looked at North Louisiana, Northeast Louisiana in particular, is fertile ground for entrepreneurs. You think about the Delta Airlines of the world. You think about all the other CenturyLinks and other companies that have started here as a small idea and have grown into something really special. This area is good at incubating good ideas and growing to scale of some sort. So whether you're an entrepreneur or you want to go to work for somebody, I think there's a bunch of paths and a bunch of ways to plug in and grow those ideas. ULM Small Business Economic Development Engine there with their teams can help you with your business planning and taking your idea to market. We have numerous other groups that work with people to do that. So whether it's on your own or with somebody else, there's plenty of hope and opportunity here.
Yeah, there is like a thriving fire for entrepreneurship here, and that's what I've been here for 3 years. We moved here, me and my little family moved here to start working here in roofing. I did it in Shreveport previously and came over here to do it, and it was just the ability to break out and grow and scale even our business the way we've been able to scale it. It is supported by the community. There is, like you said, there's so much to do here. And so it's interesting. How does because you used to be a city councilman, right? And then so you transitioned into state representative. What is there still any connection to what does it look like your connection to like local city government now that you're kind of on a state level?
So I anytime I can, I like to give my former city council seat, District 1, cell phone, Doug Harvey's cell phone to folks so they can
Shout
answer
out
local
Doug.
stuff.
Shout out Doug
that's
Harvey.
right.
Yeah.
But no, I still have people that call me and say, hey, my trash didn't get picked up, and I try to help them because it's once a city councilman, always a city councilman.
Well, it's good to know because I have your cell phone number.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And I give it to everybody. 366-7370. Y'all can call me if you need me.
Jeremy, pull
or
that up
text
on the
me.
screen.
That's it. It's simple. I do it on my radio show too. And normally, when I have people that are online and bashing me and stuff, I say, well, here's my cell. Just call me real quick and we'll talk. They hardly ever call because nobody really online wants to solve anything. They just want to do what they do. But no, I still work with the mayor and the police jury and all those other local officials because my job is to work on bringing capital outlay appropriations back to the city and the region. And so I'm always talking with locals as much as I can. I try to plug in local officials with resources, whether it's in D.C. or whether it's in Baton Rouge. So once you're in this role, whether it's state rep, state senator, or in city council, all of them are kind of interchangeable. You just have a different set of optics and problems that you're working on solving.
Yeah, and you probably are able to give more clarity to other things happening on the larger scale.
Oh, absolutely.
Tie back in.
Absolutely.
That's really cool.
We're fortunate that, in my Republican delegation, we went and visited with the new Trump administration and their secretaries. So Pete Hegseth, their Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of Labor, all the commerce and different divisions. And we have direct links now into the Trump administration to be able to ask for resources regionally, which we've never had before. I've been very impressed with the administration and how they've communicated with state officials to try to help solve problems super regionally too. So, our job is to connect, whether it's at the federal level, the state level, or the local level.
Speaking of, this is off script, but I remember Donald Trump talking about moving certain areas of government back to the state level. I remember education was one. Mm-hmm. Has that really transpired? Have we made any moves in that arena? I agree with that model. That's why I'm just curious about.
Sure. Now, I don't have a script. Y'all have a script.
Yeah, sorry, man.
This is a very general.
This is way off script.
We're actually not doing any of this.
Yeah,
I
we have gone
understand
off.
what the Trump administration is trying to do because you've created all these bureaucracies at the federal level that have cost us hundreds of billions of dollars a year, which in many ways are just political fiefdoms for people to fund all their little schemes and games. If the power, but both embedded in the Constitution and what the forefathers thought about the United States of America was with the states should have the power. The government will have what it has at the federal level, but the states should have the ultimate power and decisions to move and direct what their people want to do in those state by state. So by them getting rid of, the Department of Education at the federal level was put in the 70s and has just become more of a mess. Results have gone downhill. Everything has worked more poorly over the last 40 or 50 years because of it. What he's saying is, instead of us giving this $233 billion to this bureaucracy that then funnels some of it back out to the states, we'll just take the $233 billion that we're wasting right now, and we'll just allocate that back to you on a per student basis, and y'all can go figure it out, because you know on the ground level what's wrong in your area, whether that's in Ouachita Parish or Union Parish. Different issues, different regions. That's $4,200 and some odd dollars per student that could be flowing directly back to that student from a federal level. That's a big deal. If you look at that from bureaucracy to bureaucracy, I look at it even as HUD. Instead of HUD creating all these different crazy systems and programs, if you just took a block grant and said, here's Louisiana, y'all go solve your housing crisis, y'all go solve your low-income crisis, here's a block of money. We don't create all these crazy programs and mandates that are literally holding you back from speeding up your progress. So I think that's been the general philosophy, is deregulate, push resources back to the states, and get DC out of your business.
Fair enough.
Yeah, when it's like it's siloing it back to each specific region versus having one large.
Classic cycle of centralization, decentralization.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
And look, people that don't agree with you can pick it apart. Well, somebody over here didn't get their, XYZ today. Yeah, there are going to be instances where things are a little bit broken in that process, but the states should be the ones to solve those problems and fix it longer term, not some bureaucrat in D.C. that was appointed just for some political fiefdom, when the states is where the action is, and those governors and those elected officials locally can solve those issues.
Well, like you said, they know the problem more intimately.
Absolutely.
They're in front of it. You know, so versus having to go through a large red tape system in order to eventually maybe get some money to solve the problem.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
So when did you get into government?
So, I was elected in late 2017, 2018 to the city council. Now, when I graduated college, and this is I graduated in 1999 from ULM. And then I got my master's, but after my undergraduate was over, I got involved in the community. I got involved in some arts organizations. I was a Kiwanis member. And then over the years have served in Kiwanis and Rotary, Arts Council, Symphony, Historic Preservation Groups. So I've always been involved in the community from a nonprofit level. So I've seen issues. I was a founding board member for Center for Children and Families, did fundraising for CASA. So I got to see some of the elements and problems in our community, the social problems, social elements we were trying to solve. So when you say government, I've gotten to understand the community from a more intimate level with those social service organizations before I got heavily involved in the political side of the house. So to see it from the social services side, the business side, and now the political side, it kind of gives me a different perspective when trying to develop either strategies or resources to solve a bigger problem.
So the political side was your avenue of being able to actually go out and make a change in those needs that you saw, being involved in the community.
Laws force changes that impact social dynamics. So in the healthcare delivery system, when we're forcing people to use, outdated transportation systems for medical transport, when people just want to get to the doctor, but you're forcing them to go and use a system that is a corrupt system that doesn't show up or doesn't send people to pick you up to get you to the doctor's office. Like little things like that make big changes in people's lives. And so I've authored hundreds of bills, or dozens and dozens of bills, and many that we've passed to try to make people's lives a little bit better, and change delivery systems, which I think that's what we got to do as legislators, is make 1,000 small changes that make a big change. It's kind of like in historic preservation when you're fixing a building. Fixing 1 million square foot building does not restore downtown. Fixing 50 2,000 square foot buildings makes a massive impact in a downtown.
Yeah. That makes sense, because I was thinking about that concept where you're saying if you're a single-owned building owner on a block, you can fix your own building, but you're still pretty much relegated to the attention the other people pay to their buildings. You might have one great building on a terrible block, and you have your property value is terrible. You're not actually making a change, but versus the large-scale concept. So when you're doing historic preservation stuff, right, because you've done a lot of that specifically, what type of challenges are you seeing specifically? Like who are you having to basically report to? Is it the state? Who basically governs historic preservation?
I guess because of the tax incentives.
Because of
and
tax
things.
incentive, there are certain rules that you have to abide by. I've
So-
had to do some projects, and
Yeah, there are a bunch of
it's
hoops
tricky.
you have to go through. So really, when it comes back to restoring a building to be eligible for state and or federal historic tax credits, you have to meet the Department of the Interior standards. That starts with the Office of Historic Preservation within the state. There's a package you fill out, a Part 1, a Part 2, a Part 3. So you have to do that. Then you have local governing officials you have to, for your permit office. You have Office of Historic Preservation that you have to go, or Heritage Preservation you have to go through to get facade improvements approved as well. So there are all these little hoops you have to go through, and it's a painful process because just the Department of the Interior standards, you may want to change the facade on your building, but it could implicate you being able to qualify for state and federal historic tax credits. So all those little things are part of the process. I learned on a single building. I started restoring buildings. The first building I ever restored was I lived in the Garden District on Aaron Avenue, and I bought a building, the house, restored it, took it back to the studs, and brought it back. And it was really a mini little show place. And I thought, this is pretty cool that you can take this, find these things, and bring it back to what it would have been in the 1920s. And that probably lit my fire from getting bit by the bug and wanting to do more of it. But once you do one building and you figure out the problems, then you do 2 and 3, and we've done 30-something commercial historic tax credit projects now, and it's, or give or take, or buildings at the very least. And so that has, you get some form of expertise after
Sure.
that much experience and pain points, and
Yeah.
it's painful.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, when you start to open up these 100-year-old buildings,
Yep.
I mean, you find some really terrible things you could never have accounted for.
No, I mean, mold, asbestos,
Yeah.
other environmental conditions. I'm a general contractor. I'm a commercial and residential contractor. I have my environmental licenses, mold, abatement, lead, asbestos. So you have to accumulate those things, because if you don't, part of our model is restoring these things and maintaining the cost structure to where it makes economic sense.
Sure.
And so those are just cost controls for me, having these construction companies to be able to maintain the financial model where it makes sense to do the deals.
Yeah, it would never have worked if you brought in your own GC to come in and do that. You
You
would
know,
have almost had to self-perform.
On a few projects it does, because we've done
Sure.
some really big projects that we brought in GCs, but I've got a really great team of professionals that are both historic recreators of things, great carpenters, great welders, and so they do a phenomenal job on bringing back that history in a special way. So it's a balancing act.
Yeah, we all are doing a phenomenal job. I mean, we're really excited to check out the hotel specifically and all the stuff downtown. So you were saying before we started that the occupancy in the downtown apartments that you have,
Hotel.
the hotel itself is at 0 occupancy right now still?
The hotel?
Yeah.
No, we're over 80% occupancy.
80%?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can still
That's
get a
great.
room.
Still get a room. Sounds like
Oh,
there's
no, no.
20%.
So normally, because our weekdays, we have a big commercial market. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're normally sold out. It's the weekends right now, because when you start a hotel like this, we've been open for about 6 months. We've got a large ballroom, event spaces. It takes you 6 months to a year to build traction in those event spaces, because people need to come in, see it, realize, okay, I want to have my wedding here. It's a beautiful space, or other major event, retirement party, what have you. And so it's taken us time. Now, December, we have 32 events booked in December.
Wow.
And so that means we have anywhere from 1 to 3 events a day,
Yeah.
which, last weekend we had over 1,000 people through the hotel between our ballrooms and event spaces and restaurants. So it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
people
For being
everywhere.
only 6 months old, too. That's
a
incredible.
lot of activity, and I hope it stays that way. Now we'll have to hire a bunch more folks, and the team that we have is doing a great job. But the occupancy there has been really good because of that commercial market traffic throughout the middle part of the week. Now, as far as the apartments, we've got several hundred apartments, both market rate and affordable apartments downtown. We're at 100% occupancy there too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been really strong because of the meta effect, but 2, because there's just a regional demand for housing, and so we're going to continue to develop housing downtown and other places.
So off of that, what's the next big thing downtown for you guys? Like, are there any great projects you can
We
talk
have
about
mentioned-
right now? Or
You mentioned
Sure.
Kansas Street, but anything going on down
So
there?
we're looking at developing another hotel downtown, just another product that can help complement the products we've got. We're looking at developing additional apartments downtown. Longer term, a culinary school would be something we'd like to work on, because we need to train the workforce, the culinary workforce, the creative workforce, and the cultural workforce for tomorrow. So those are a few little projects. it just depends too. We own the old Hotel Monroe, which is at 233 South Grand. We're starting to frame it up, and you'll see what's happening there pretty soon. The Palace Department Store is one of the projects that we own that we're finishing the plan now, and hopefully we'll have that under construction by summer of this 2026. And then we own a few more parcels with some really big ideas, but we just got to see. You can only do so much of this before you lose all your hair, and so we're just trying to figure out what the next best thing is that'll complement both the hotel and the other offerings we already have.
Yeah, the culinary school is a really cool idea. We have such a uniquely strong food scene here specifically. I mean, the stuff Corey Barr is doing is incredible.
Yep.
I mean, the stuff that even I've heard incredible stuff about the restaurant Hotel Monroe. You have, Apero,
yeah, and then you've got cultural options like Athena's, which is really good.
Yeah. You have Latin food in West Monroe. Alex Latin food is incredible. I mean, it's just there's so much diversity here, which is weird.
One of the great stories, when we were working on developing the hotel, we hired a consultant. He was a Michelin star chef out of New York, has restaurants in Disney and all up at the East Coast, New York, Martha's Vineyard. He came, and we were working on menus and different concepts, and so we took him around to try food at different restaurants. We took him to Janusa's, took him to Parish, Cotton, restaurants in West Monroe, and regionally. And at the end of the trip, we were at the house and having a glass of wine, and I said, what did you think? He said, you don't know what you have.
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean? He's like, you have something special here in this community. And so I see it. I mean, I know it's there. It's just that I think some may take it for granted, but we really do have a special food scene.
Yeah.
We also have the best pizza, Johnny's Pizza.
There you go.
Shout out.
Who can't remember Johnny's on McKean, 387-8668? Now, I haven't had a Johnny's Pizza because I'm celiac in 16 years. But I still remember the phone number for that.
Mine is
place.
396-5120.
Yeah.
Shout out Wallace Road.
We all know the number.
Yeah, I grew up in Alexandria. We had BJ's, which apparently it was a family and they split. And BJ stays small.
Now there's B's.
I'm a little partial. Yeah, B's and J's. Yeah, I'm a little partial to BJ's. But no, it is such an attractive community here. There's so much going on, and it's a really exciting place to raise a family, to have kids. It's just. What's going on here is special. We love that we get to be a part of it. We get to work in this community. We get to, network and meet people like you who are driving growth, and we all get to benefit.
The hotel's been fun, both for my wife. She's an architect. She's the designer, and she's done a lot of other things for the hotel. But, we've set up a Candyland right in front of the hotel where you can come take pictures in front of this Candyland environment. If you come in the hotel, Christmas lights everywhere. Last night we had Christmas carolers. We're doing cocoa in the lobby. We've got pictures with Santa we had on Sunday where people came in. Dozens of folks came in and took pictures with Santa. So we're trying to curate a family-friendly experience where the hotel is a living room for the community where you can come in. We've got programming coming up in the spring. I know for Valentine's Day for couples, we've got the fabulous Equinox Jazz Orchestra. The entire orchestra will be in the hotel on that day. They'll perform for dinner service, and then there's a concert up in the ballroom after that, and it'll be limited tickets. But again, we're trying to curate more and more events so everybody has something to do. And you don't have to go to New Orleans. You don't have to go to Dallas. You can do something really cool in your own backyard and feel like you're somewhere else.
How do people find out about all the things that are going on?
Yeah, go to hotelmonroe.com/calendar, and it'll list out all the events. The 32 events I mentioned, there's probably 10 or 12 there in December that you can do. The parade, which was this past Saturday, you had the Kiwanis Christmas parade, and the stuff that went on the hotel. There were people everywhere. It was wild, but a lot of fun, and that's what we want to do: curate this fun experience with this hotel and the future hotels, and just keep people coming back and enjoying what I think is so special, which is Monroe, Northeast Louisiana, Monroe, West Monroe, and how they work together. But the entire region, there's so much going on here: hunting, fishing, cultural assets that we got a lot to be proud of, and we're trying to show it off with the hotel.
Yeah,
very cool.
I love that. So, and we kind of asked the same question to Friday Ellis. What can we do as, obviously we're partial to contractors, so we kind of see it from the contractor standpoint, but what can even just local citizens, local people in the community, what can people do to help support this growth rather than, I know you kind of mentioned the poverty mindset, kind of being more of an abundant space.
I think it's really just telling the story, coming and being a part of it, and actually enjoying parts of this cultural renaissance, if you will, or even economic renaissance in our region. I think if you can tell the story, share it, instead of just getting online and bashing things, talk about the good things that are happening in our community, but being a part of it too, and realizing you don't have to go to Dallas to have fun. You can hang out in downtown Monroe, downtown West Monroe, or one of our other regional communities. You know, I get a lot of joy in going down to like Caldwell Parish, into their downtown in Columbia, and the history that's there, and I mean, even Morehouse Parish in the square, going down to Marouge. I mean, there's so much cool little things in every part of our region. Just go get a piece of it on a weekend. Go have a taste of one of the ice cream shops there across the tracks in Marouge, or again going to Slayton's Barbecue or Simmons Sporting Goods in Morehouse Parish. I mean, all those little things are a day trip and fun, and we've got that right here in our own backyard. You don't have to leave your home.
Yeah. No, it is special, man. And look, we appreciate, again, you coming out. We appreciate people like you who are driving this growth. If we did not have people in these seats who are actually focused on the community first, the people who actually live here versus just, personal self-gain, we would be limited, and so we appreciate you. We appreciate all that you're doing. Please don't stop.
Hey, y'all keep telling the story, and the more we can get the story out there, that's great. And if anybody needs me, I've already given my cell phone number, but you can go to michaelechols.com, and I'm easy to find there. You click email me, and it comes straight to my phone.
And you also have your radio show.
Yeah.
Echols at 8.
Every Wednesday in this market on 105.7 FM, Talk 540, or iHeartRadio. So I'm easy to get to.
All right. We elect Mike Echols.
There you go.
This is great. Thank you so much for
coming
y'all.
Out. Appreciate it.
Cool. Awesome.